Welcome, this is Richmond Rising. I'm Lindsay Darnell, your host, and today we have Mayor Ron Oler with us with a quarterly update to let us know the progress that has been made in the City of Richmond. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. I'm glad to be here. I think these videos are very important, and I hope the community watches them and understands what we're trying to do in revitalizing our wonderful city.
Okay, so the Common Council has approved the rezoning of the Smith Hill Unit Development Project on South 37th Street. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what it will bring to our community?
Yeah, so if you haven't paid attention, but I assume a lot of people have, there's a 80-acre property within the city limits that was zoned for residential for a very long time, although it's been used as farm ground. And we've had several developers look at it, and this last developer came up with this mixed-use concept, which is very common in the donut cities of Indianapolis and other places. It's going to be kind of the first one of our kind here. So part of the acreage is set aside for townhomes. There'll be 110 townhomes, roughly, in 24 to 28 buildings that are for sale, not for rent. And then there'll be 168 single-family homes that are kind of a mix. They have a mix of starter homes, courtyard homes, and even some of I'll call them the millionaire homes on the backside. So Richmond's comprehensive plan, Richmond Rising, identified that if we start new housing starts, we should do so within the city limits, and that 80 acres fits perfectly within the plan. We need more housing, definitely, and we're discovering that we need a mix of housing. So we're working on some apartments downtown. So really the best use of that land is townhomes, which are part of the mix of homes we need, and single-family homes. So I'm excited to see the project move forward. There's still a lot of hurdles to go through. There's final design development that has to be passed, and some infrastructure planned and staged, but everything's moving along pretty good.
This is actually going to be a step in the right direction for the housing crisis that we have not only just in our city, but cities around the country.
Yeah, if you watch the national news, it's not just us, it's nationwide. Post-COVID, a lot of different things happen, and there's such a demand for housing that the market's not keeping up. So we know from the housing study how many people are commuting here to work, and there's no option for them to live here. So when we start building new homes, there will be a whole a ladder effect, if you will. So there's definitely some people in homes now that'll probably move up into these homes, and there's some people living outside the community who commute here to work will move into either those homes or some of the new homes. But I'm excited about having the whole mix. You know, we're going to have apartments. The housing study said we need about 450 units a year for the next 5 years of apartments, townhomes, and single-family homes. So this is just one piece of that. There's a lot more to come. And honestly, as a mayor of the City of Richmond, one of my goals is to get people to live and work here and make the city a better place to live and to work. And people have the option to live across the border in a neighboring state. And I would rather, if they're working here, live here and be engaged in the community, because when you live in the community, you become engaged in the community. And it helps the arts, it helps the culture, and it just helps the whole environment if they actually live here instead of just work here, then travel somewhere else to sleep at night.
Right, and I think that's a great thing that our community needs, our city needs. Mm-hmm. We need those people in here living and engaging in our community, to coming to our events, supporting our businesses.
Mm-hmm. Supporting the arts and the culture. I mean, Richmond has one of the oldest professional symphony orchestras in the state, continual. Richmond has a beautiful art museum, so there's a lot of arts and other cultural history here that we need to just keep going and keep rolling. And that will only happen if people are living here and engaged in those activities.
That's great. I'm excited to see what this townhouse and single-family homes are going to look like.
Me too.
So another thing I want to talk about is Loop Phase 2 is almost completed on Main Street. I know that there's a lot of plans that the city has for Main Street, or downtown, if you will. Can you tell us what are your goals to bring to Main Street once the construction is completed?
Yes, the loop was started years ago and is actually a plan under a couple administrations ago called Complete Streets. It's a kind of an NDOT project, and I know there's people in favor of it, people not so in favor of it. When it's done, it's actually a multimodal path. It's not just for bicycles, it's for pedestrians, it's for mothers with those 3-wheel strollers out for a jog and a run. So one of the things that's kind of exciting is Richmond has 5 colleges and universities, but we don't look like a college town. When this is complete, it'll actually, the last phase will be connecting all the way to Earlham College. So Earlham students will have a safer access to get to downtown, to get to the depot and get around again. So all these areas are connected by that multimodal path. And so college students, adults, older adults, younger adults, people living in apartments downtown will have an easy access to walk to, say Oktoberfest in the depot that's coming up. If you're living downtown, instead of walking along a street, you can actually walk along this path or bicycle along this path. So it really connects it, and I think it's going to give us more of that college feel too.
A lot of other cities that we've seen, Oxford, for example, I know their downtown is always booming. It's
always booming, always vibrant. So one of the things, the last phase of this on Main Street, if you haven't noticed, is the Main Street was straightened out. And this is something that started in the past administration. We're just here trying to finish some stuff up. So all this was started years ago. But I am thankful that the engineers redesigned it a bit. So the last 3 blocks, the street has been straightened out. The speed bumps are gone. The brick sidewalks that were in front of the businesses, which were hard for people with walkers and canes and mobility issues, are being replaced with concrete. You may or may not like concrete, but it's 100% safer for elderly or people with mobility issues. And I'm excited about that it's going to be easier for pedestrians, it's going to be easier for motorists. Every block has added 5 more parking spaces, so we are opening up Main Street, and Main Street's going to be open for business again very soon.
Hopefully we'll get more businesses and entrepreneurs to open up and get more traffic down there.
Yes, and opening it up right as it's done will be so much easier for both pedestrians and motorists. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, we have the parking garage with 3 stories in the parking garage, and it's well lit now. It's safer than it's ever been. We put a lot of money into public safety, a lot of resources into public safety, and the parking garage was one huge area that's been painted, it's been cleaned. We have a person dedicated to every day they go in there and pull out trash, and if there's ever any graffiti, they clean it up. And the lighting is it's the most well-lit parking lot in Richmond. So I would challenge anyone to drive through there at night and might put on sunglasses. I think they kind of overdid it on the lighting, but there's cameras. It's very safe.
Okay.
It's a safe place to be again. So we're really focusing on public safety. And as we make the downtown, people feel safer coming downtown. They will come downtown. Once apartments are completed downtown, there's already some, but there's more coming. We'll have more people living downtown. Then we'll have more shopping downtown. And I want it to flourish like it did 50 years ago.
Right. And I think there is a lot of misconception about the parking garage. I know a lot of people think that, the parking spots already belong to other people.
Some are reserved and some are marked. And as we go forward with these apartments, especially the 6th and Main apartments at the old Elder Beerman site, they are going to lease 100 spaces, but those will be marked. There'll still be over 100 public spaces for anyone to park. Again, we've already added more on-street parking anyways on Main Street, so parking is going to be less of an issue than it's been in the past, and hopefully that'll really help revitalize downtown.
Okay, so speaking about 6th and Main, has there been any updates on 6th and Main? Is there any development updates?
A couple of weeks ago at the Board of Works, they opened all the bids, and then the engineering company that's gone through all the specs of the bids to make sure that we don't really have that expertise, so we hired an outside engineering firm because the skywalk is something we've never taken down, so there's a lot of complicated things going on there. But I'm glad you asked because that bid will be awarded tonight. So if you're paying attention to the calendar date and you watch the Board of Works tonight, that bid will be awarded, and then as soon as project starts, one of the things that's going to be different though is you're not going to see a lot of activity at first. There's a lot of cleanup yet to do inside. So they're going to spend a lot of time inside, and then the first thing they'll do is take down a skywalk from the parking garage over 7th Street, and that'll take a day or two when 7th Street will be closed, but you'll post it and people will know when that happens. And then the building will start coming down, and they have a definite timeline of a very short timeline to get the building down. They have to be completely gone by Thanksgiving. So as soon as they start in a few weeks, they'll start inside, they'll get the skywalk, then the outside will come down. And one of the things we've done to make that happen is that South Service Drive. The city is already vacated. It's no longer a public street. So you can drive on it now because it's open, but there will come a day when there'll be barricades at the end because we're going to let them tear down the building that direction toward the parking lot. So they're going to have equipment set up in that parking lot so it'll no longer be a public street. Legally it isn't right now, but it's still open until it's barricaded. So that'll facilitate the demolition faster. And one of the things we're doing, just like when I was on council with the former hospital site, is we encourage the demolition crew and it was part of the contract that they would grind up the concrete on site and recycle it, put it back into road material and construction material. And the same with the steel and the building. We want all that recycled. So as much as possible out of that building is going to be recycled, not just fill it up to landfill. The only thing you're going to see in landfill is some wood and some carpet and some other stuff probably like that can't be recycled. So I'm really hopeful that the whole skyline, where I'm sitting right now, if you could see me, I can look out the window and see that corner of that building. And it served a great purpose from 1973 until a few years ago, but big box retail kind of went away with COVID and online shopping, and big box retail is not coming back to downtown. Very few downtowns have big box retail anymore. They're going to have boutique shops. And even shopping malls are struggling in a lot of areas because most people are ordering online. So the best possible use for that site is, from the housing study, are these market rate luxury apartments. And Richmond's never had apartments like are going in there. These are the same company who built some apartments downtown Indy. So there's going to be retail space in a corner. They're going to have their own gym, their own swimming pool. They're going to have 2 dog spas, bicycle storage, bicycle repair shop. When we toured the one that they own, and this company owns in Fishers, it was kind of neat because on the back side of it, there was a door, an access door for deliveries, UPS, FedEx, Amazon, or whoever, and there was all these lockers. So residents who get packages delivered, they get put into a locker and they get a code and says your package from Amazon or Walmart or Sears or wherever you order online is in locker 23 and here's the code. So they're not going into the apartment building and laying boxes in front of people's doors. They have this locker system set up. And the other neat thing they had set up was a reverse locker for dry cleaning. Like myself, I have to get suits dry cleaned from time to time. So they have a locker where a resident will put something in a locker and tell the dry cleaning company, who will pick it up, dry clean it, and bring it back and tell them which locker it's in. And really well-organized machine. And one of the things I'm also happy about, this developer has a long history, not only in Indiana, but across pretty much the entire nation now. They're developing these all around the country. And they maintain ownership. They don't partner it out. They don't hire people to manage it. They manage it themselves, so they keep control. And the one that we toured was more than 10 years old, and if you looked at the paint on the wall, you wouldn't think it was 1 year old. And the maintenance is just superb, top notch. I can't wait.
That's great. I can't wait either. A lot of amenities that are great to have for somebody that's working and busy.
And the other thing, they're keeping some green space, but what's also nice is the city has 3 of its most important parks, or most active parks, are within walking distance. The Elstro Park, the Elstro Plaza, that little park that we made out of a parking lot with a Stellar grant many years ago, has become the most programmed park in the city. And the way the multimodal path is, they can walk down to the Star Jeanette Park. I've been down there on a weekend for farmers market, and I see people doing yoga and Tai Chi in the forest. They're just living their life. And the veteran park's on the other side. So when people live there, they'll be able to walk to that. And then we're also activating the gorge. So soon there'll be a launching point for canoeing and kayaking next year once they finish some cleanup stuff, and a fishing pier. So people living there will be able to walk to that too. So it's going to be a wonderful thing.
Yes, I'm excited for the Gorge activation plan.
Yes.
A lot of the things that they are going to have accessible to the community, it's going to bring life and quality of life, quality of place to us.
Now, quality of life, quality of place is hugely important to my administration, and I think every administration. And parks are probably one of the number one things, quality of life and quality of place, that city government can help control and focus on. City government really doesn't play much of a part in the arts and culture. That's taken care of by those organizations, but we can invest heavily in our parks. So my administration, we've been focusing on our key parks, our most important parks, our most used parks, and we've been slowly divesting ourselves of some underutilized spaces. I think that's one of the questions you're going to have for me. We can go ahead and talk about that if you want.
Yes, go ahead.
So we've already, McBride Stadium, the high school used it more than anyone, and the city parks department managed it for decades. And about a 2-year discussion, finally the high school took that over along with some other areas there. And if you haven't seen it, they've already painted red and white colors. They're pouring money into it that we really didn't have to pour into it. And baseball is important to the city, but not really as important as it is to the high school. So that was an investment they wanted to make, and we're happy to let them take over that, because that frees up a mowing crew to take care of our other more important parks, our stellar parks, if you will. So that was at the second park we turned over. The first park we turned over was Swicker Park last year when I was on council, before I was mayor, down there on Southeast Street. It was not really utilized well in that community, that area. And again, they were sending a mowing crew. So now the group that has it is maintaining it, mowing it, and that's a great partnership. The other park that we working on closing on is the Berry Field Park next to Chester Heights Apartments. That's still in process. So we had it appraised. We met with a developer of Chester Heights who wants to build some more apartments. And we've committed, the parks has committed to whatever revenue we receive from selling that. And most people don't know it's there. It's tucked behind a couple of houses. There used to be a basketball court there. There used to be football. It's really just a green space that we mow. And there's very few local residents that even know it's there. So we've committed to whatever money we get from that is going into Middle Fork Reservoir. So we're trying to invest more in Middle Fork Reservoir. That's an important park, and it gets a lot of activity from those people who live in that area. So I think that was a smart decision to free up, again, that maintenance crew that was going there on a regular basis just to mow and clean it up, to spend more time at Middle Fork instead.
Yes, I actually never knew that park was there until I took a parks tour. And we went there and she was trying to show me, and I was like, well, how do you even get in there? And it's just a small little easement that you can go down to get to it.
Right.
So
It's overgrown with grass, and yes, unless you know it's there, you live there, and you didn't even know it existed. And one of the things that the Parks Department has, there's some other green spaces that the Parks Department has. When a developer finishes a development sometimes, not in recent times, but in the long past, there will be a strip of land like along the gorge, the top of the gorge. There's a strip of land that the parks mows because it was too small development on, and the developer just gave it to the city, so to speak, or the city inherited it. So to keep the neighborhoods cleaned up, we go and mow that. So we're still working on a couple of those strips of land, trying to figure out the best use is actually transferring them to a resident who can use it as a lawn or a yard or a garden, instead of us sending a maintenance crew out there once or twice a week, so that our maintenance crew can focus on the Clear Creek Park, where we've invested a lot of money in the basketball court and the pickleball courts, or the senior center, or the Cordell Municipal Swimming Pool, or Glenn Miller Park, and even 10th Street Park, South 10th Street Park. Years ago when I was on council, that 10th Street Park was rehabilitated with new sidewalks and really cleaned up, and it's really a nice park now. That was the city's first park, and it's interesting that I bring it up because that's at one end of the multimodal trail. That multimodal path actually connects from 10th Street Park to downtown, past Elstro Park, to the depot, back to downtown, down to the other two parks, Star Jeanette and the other. Like, we're connecting our parks to the community.
Yes, so it would be great for everyone to start utilizing them. The city recently announced a couple of nonprofit organizations with the Transitional Housing Support Grant. Can you tell us where this grant came from, what's it for, and what is it going to do for our community?
Well, good. I'm glad you asked. One of the first problems in the city I tried to tackle was the unsheltered homeless, and not just clean up the camps, but finding better housing for them. So we've been working with several NGOs, non-government organizations, and they've been helping find housing for several people. So in the meantime, we set up a grant using some remaining ARPA dollars to help these NGOs with the housing for homeless, unsheltered, or people transitioning out of in sobriety, out of treatment centers into residential housing. And so today we met with 3 different groups, and we awarded 3 different grants to them from some of those remaining dollars. And one of them is going to put in a couple of bathrooms and a shower. One of them is adding housing for 6 males. One of them is adding housing space for 6 females. So it's a good mix. And we were really excited. It was really a good feeling to finally actually, instead of our grant administrator getting grants in for the city, she actually wrote this grant to go out. And it was a really exciting time to say, we believe in your mission, you're doing great things, you're really helping the community. There's a need for shelter, for more permanent housing options for homeless and unsheltered and people in recovery. And all 3 of these organizations stepped up and wrote some really nice essays, really nice applications, and really excited to help them. And winter is going to be here before we know it, and that was important on my list to get some better solutions before winter months came here.
That's great. So this transitional housing support grant is going to help nonprofit organizations who are able to help people that are recently sober. They're going to bring them in, they're going to teach them life skills, help them get a job, help them get their IDs or driver's license, and help them just learn how to live.
Right. Well, when we visited today, they already have space for 6 males, and they already have their own kitchen. They have a whole program where they learn how to clean house and maintain house. They do all their own maintenance, so they're adding to the second floor to add 4 or 5 or even 6 more males upstairs. So our grant will help them finish that space out to accommodate some more men, and they're learning basically how to be self-sufficient while in this transitional housing, and that's a really good thing.
Another thing I want to talk about is DORA. So DORA was approved in December of last year,
Yes.
And now we are working on it. The city has submitted its application. The DORA is going to be down in the Depot District. Can you give us some updates on that? What is a DORA? What will it be used for? I don't think a lot of people understand what DORA is.
Understand what a DORA is, yes. It's not the Explorer, you won't find her. It's an acronym. So I was on council again for a long time, and last year I was chair of the Public Safety Committee, and we worked through that ordinance to make sure this DORA will be everything we expected in. So it's a designated outdoor refreshment area. Other states around the country have had these for years. July 1st of last year, it became something legal a city can do in Indiana. And a city like Richmond can have up to 7 distinct DORAs, and I'll get into why that is in a minute. So the Depot Association was first to act. You know, they have their Oktoberfest. They have a lot of activities down there. Traditionally, they would go to the Board of Works and get an exception to set up a beer garden, to get special licenses, and a DORA actually simplifies government. A DORA expedites all that process. A DORA gets government out of the way. So this area has been set aside, and it's been marked clearly by a map, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 restaurants that will participate in it, and by participating in it, they have to fill out an application, send in some money to the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, and it goes through the city, and they have to be approved by the ATC to be part of a DORA. And basically it is your liquor license valid, your beer and wine license valid, your riverfront license valid. Are you not in trouble with the ATC? Because if you've been a problem, you're not going to get permitted to be part of the DORA. So the way the Depot Association set it up, the state guidelines say you have to specify the times. So they chose Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I believe 4 to 11 p.m. So it stops before a bar that closes at 2 a.m. could cause problems. That was something we wanted to set up too. The other thing is there will be signs all over inside the DORA. This is a DORA, don't go outside the DORA with your cup. So let's talk about the cup. So every establishment that participates in the DORA, an individual is permitted to get 2 cups that are clearly marked DORA cups for a DORA event, a special event, and they can take them out to the sidewalk, and they can walk around inside that district. That district could be 2 cups of beer, 2 cups of wine. Why 2 cups? Because their companion, their friend, their spouse is outside, so only one has to go inside and could get 2 drinks, and one for them and one for someone else. Not that they're fisting down 2 drinks quickly. We understand that typically if there's a couple out, one of the persons buys and the other doesn't. So the cups are clearly marked with instructions, but one of the things I did, and I thought was smart of me, and we require that the establishment put a label on their DORA cup that says it's from this establishment. So the establishment will be responsible for policing the area to make sure their cups aren't on the ground. So if we see there's a lot of DORA cups laying around, people are dumping their trash, not using receptacles. If we see there's DORA cups on the other side of the street where they shouldn't be outside of the legal DORA, that's a problem for that establishment. So by making them label them cups, they're going to self-police. They're going to go out at the end of a DORA event at 11 o'clock at night. Somebody's going to go out and make sure that their cups are in their trash receptacles, that people haven't taken them. It's kind of a way to self-police. Our police will be available. When they have a special event, they will notify Richmond Police Department, hey, we're having a special event, and keep an eye on it, make sure people don't get out of hand. But a normal DORA event, if you go to the wine shop and grab a glass of wine in a cup and you walk 2 blocks to a retail establishment, that retail establishment can have a sign that says DORA accepted here or not accepted here. So there could be an establishment that has some materials that they don't want to get wet by a spilled drink. They will say, don't bring your DORA cup in here. There'll be another establishment that says, bring your DORA cup in here, we don't care. So that's on the business owners. The government doesn't decide that. The only thing the government decides is the state decides who gets to participate or not based upon their history of serving alcohol, beer, wine, and liquor.
That's great. So the DORA is the designated outdoor refreshment area, and the designated permittees will be Little Sheba's, Roscoe's, Cordial Cork, and Firehouse Barbecue Blues. So make sure you guys go out and see the DORA when there's events going on the Depot District, and they would love to have it. Make sure you look for the boundary signs. Make sure you look for the beverages welcome or please no beverages at the establishments down there. Mayor, I want to thank you for joining us and giving us a quarterly update. I look forward to our next quarterly update.
I do too. I hope our next quarterly update we can talk about and show pictures of the Elder Behrman building is down. I mean, if you're like myself, that was the first escalator ever rode on. So I have some emotional attachment to it, but it doesn't serve the purpose anymore, and I understand that. We need to do something different, and I look forward to these modern apartments being in its place and getting use again.
Yes, it'll be great to have something utilized in that spot instead of just a vacant building.
Yes.
Thank you once again. This is Richmond Rising. I'm Lindsay Darnell. Join us next time. Until then, keep rising, Richmond.